clinch a playoff berth with a win of their own on Saturday. As we take a look at the AFC playoff picture, currently the Chargers in the wild card spot with the Colts and the Ravens in the hunt, looking to be dancing in January. For more, I'm joined by CBS Sports NFL analysts John Breach and Will Brinson. Will, as the Chargers look to keep their playoff run alive, essentially, what do you need to see from the Bolts to get the win on Saturday?
Yeah, Madeline, I think that this matchup for the Chargers is a tough one because you have a Houston defense that is absolutely, elite. One of the three best defenses in football. They put pressure on the quarterback. They're very stingy in the secondary. And I really think this is one where, let's see what Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh can scheme up for Justin Herbert in order to keep him protected. Maybe it's moving around a little bit. Maybe it's some quick hitters to Ladd McConkey underneath. Maybe it's like multiple tight end packages. I'm curious to see what that is because, with the offensive line injuries that they've dealt with, it's been tough sledding for the Chargers. Now, defensively, they should be fine in taking on Houston's offense. It's cobbling together a couple of drives for scores to come away with the win.
Yeah, that, Brinson, is absolutely correct. And I'm going to add a little bit to that because I do think that they should also try and get the ground game going. They just got Amarian Hampton back. They have Kamani Vidal there. You look at what happened to Justin Herbert. We all remember that playoff game last season when Herbert had the most Charger meltdown of all time with 4 interceptions. They got beat down 32-12. That was a 13-6 game in the third quarter. It was a very close game. But the one thing, though, if you get that rushing attack going, you don't have to depend so much on Herbert. And depending on Herbert's fine, it's gotten the Chargers this far, and it works. But when you're playing a defense like the Texans, when there's Danielle Hunter, when there's Will Anderson, guys that can get after the quarterback, you don't want to make your quarterback carry the team because that's where he gets into trouble. Let's not forget, Justin Herbert's playing with a broken left hand. So it's a little bit more difficult to hold on to the ball. You start taking hits, maybe you fumble it. So maybe you're not throwing interceptions, but if you're losing fumbles, those are still turnovers. So I think the Chargers, what they need to do, get that rushing attack going. And then the defense. You look at what the Houston Texans have done on offense this year. They've scored 20 points or less in 6 of their 7 road games. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on that Chargers defense to keep the scoring down for Houston, because in that way, this doesn't turn to any sort of shootout, because you're probably not going to win a shootout when you're playing against the Texans defense that's tough to score points on.
Absolutely tough to score points on. And as you mentioned, Herbert has been playing through that broken hand and facing this Texans defense that the Texans are the only team that Herbert has faced in his career against whom he has thrown more interceptions than touchdowns. Now, Breach, you touched on this already about how important it is to have the ball security against this Texans defense, but how much of a tough opponent is this Houston defense for the Chargers?
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at the turnover margin in the NFL this year, the Houston Texans are plus 15. That's the best in the AFC, the second best in the NFL. And again, you go back to that playoff game where Justin Herbert threw 4 interceptions. But Justin Herbert shouldn't feel bad because a lot of quarterbacks struggle against this Texans defense. And again, I think that is why the Chargers should go into this game with a little bit of a different game plan and look to run the ball more. I think they only ran the ball 18 times in that playoff game last year. So just, again, get that rushing attack going. But I think the other part of this, where turnovers could factor into this game, is because of the Texans offense. They have only turned the ball over 10 times this year. 7 of those turnovers have come on the road. So they have absolutely struggled a little bit more on the road. And I have to think Justin Herbert has probably watched film of that playoff game 100 times since last January, just kind of hitting himself and thinking, I can't throw 4 interceptions again. So I would be shocked if Justin Herbert even throws 2 interceptions, and even more surprised if he turns the ball over at all. I think he is going to be watching this defense closely and trying his best not to make any mistakes.
Right, and the ball security is imperative, whether it's this game or any in the NFL. But Brinson, if the Texans defense doesn't force a turnover, can Houston win this game?
Yeah, I mean, they still can because they're good at shutting opposing offenses down. I do think the turnovers are imperative just because this is going to be a slog and a rock fight. There's going to be a lot of running the ball, a lot of 3-yard carries, some scrambles by Justin Herbert, and it probably will come down to turnovers and who doesn't make the mistakes on offense and give the ball to the other team and add possessions to the other slate for those teams. So Yes, I think turnovers are imperative, but I do think if there's a team that cannot turn the ball over against the Texans, it is the Chargers, and the way that Herbert protects it and how he can use his legs a lot too. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that to sort of amplify that run game.
No, the Chargers have the slight edge in this one. They're favored by 1.5 at home. So, Brinson, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, look, I'm feeling the Chargers right now, and frankly, it's because their defense. We saw that graphic earlier. They've been stepping up in a big way the last month since the bye. Haven't allowed anyone to score more than 20 points, and they played some decent opponents. Not all the Raiders, right? The Texans' offense has been a little bit better, but they're still pretty suspect in terms of scoring points. And if you can slow down Nico Collins, and kind of get that ground game, bogged down a bit, you can really force the Texans to be kind of one-dimensional, and then make CJ Stroud drop back a lot, the Chargers pass rush have been excellent the past month. I think they get after CJ Stroud, force a couple turnovers, and come away with the win.
Breach, thoughts?
Again, I guess I'm on the same page with Brinson. We agree on something for the first time in 6 months. Well, this is absolutely shocking. But when I look at the Houston Texans, this is a team that has struggled on the road against good teams. When you look at the road games against teams that currently have 10 or more wins, they've played 3 of them: the Los Angeles Rams, the Seattle Seahawks, and Jacksonville. And they're 0-3 in those games. They've already lost at SoFi Stadium, which is where this game is being played on Saturday. And again, this offense has struggled to score points on the road, 20 points or less in 6 of their 7 road games. So I think the Texans offense is going to struggle. And one other thing, the Houston Texans are 2-4 this season when they give up more than 190 passing yards. So when their defense, when there's a quarterback who can sling the ball on them, that's when they struggle. And I think Justin Herbert, broken hand and all, might be able to sling the ball. So I'm taking the Chargers to cover that 1.5 points.
Be a good one for the early slate on Saturday, but let's turn our attention to the NFC action on Saturday night. The Packers clinched a playoff berth with the Lions lost to the Vikings on Christmas Day. They'll be taking on the Ravens Saturday night without quarterback Jordan Love, who remains out with a concussion. Now, Malik Willis, who's battled a right shoulder injury and an illness, is expected to get the start for Green Bay in his place. But let's take a look at the Packers injury report for Week 17, which is a long one. But good news for Green Bay, Packers running back Josh Jacobs, who's been dealing with a knee injury and an ankle injury, will play against the Ravens on Saturday. Now, Willis is 2-0 as a starter, but he's not 100% either. So, Breach, how much do the Packers need out of the quarterback position in order to get a win on Saturday night?
Yeah, this is definitely interesting. Malik Willis has run Matt LaFleur's offense very, very well. We've seen him be successful. But they are going to need a lot from the quarterback, because when you look at that Ravens defense, the easiest way to kind of move the ball on them is to throw the ball. And one thing Malik Willis brings to the table is kind of he's a great runner. So he adds a mobility aspect to that offense that doesn't necessarily help you in the passing game, but that's kind of where you need to beat Baltimore. The Ravens are 1-6 this year when they've given up more than 250 passing yards. So I think that's Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson. He's questionable, but if he's on the field, these guys are the guys that have to get open and help Malik Willis out a little bit, because he's not someone that is going to come out. We're looking at those numbers right there. 156 yards per game is what he's been averaging with the Packers. So it's not a huge number, but you want to see that number go up, because I do think that throwing the ball is probably Green Bay's best chance to beat up on that Ravens defense.
Be that as it may, Breach, I do think that they've got an interesting decision to make here, because Willis, banged up, was questionable, ended up being, he's starting. They've said that he's good to go, but he's still dealing with the injury, and you just wonder, like, how much do you want to run him? How much do you want to be careful? I think more than anything, you just can't turn the ball over if you're Malik Willis, and you need to let Josh Jacobs run effectively. Use Willis's legs early in this game to sort of set up that run game. You saw we talked about the passing numbers dip. Did you see how huge the rushing numbers are when Malik Willis starts for this team? I mean, they run the ball really effectively. Of his legs are under center. And so I think you get Josh Jacobs going, you get Willis running the ball early, maybe some quick hitting screens and stuff to don't force him to be too accurate down the field. And then conversely, defense. Like, if they play an elite defensive game, they have a really good shot of blowing Baltimore out here. And I think that they can get downhill, force a non-Lamar Jackson Ravens team to have to throw the ball a bunch, and then all of a sudden a world of trouble for the Ravens, who may very well see their season come to an end on Saturday night.
Right, as you mentioned, Baltimore is looking to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Ravens need to win out and need the Steelers to lose out in order to win the AFC North title. Now, the Ravens have lost 3 of their last 4 games, including a Week 16 that saw Baltimore give up a fourth quarter lead with Derrick Henry on the bench. So, Brinson, with meaningful football still in front of them, what do we expect from Henry and the Ravens on Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, if you're Baltimore, you really have to hope that your defense can play well enough to let Derrick Henry get out there and run effectively. The problem is he's going against a very good Packers defense. That's not going to be easy. I mean, to me, this game really comes down to who can score points first and then unleash the pass rush, unleash the big running back, whether it's Henry or Josh Jacobs, and try to sort of run downhill and make the other team with their backup quarterback be one-dimensional. So, I think it's imperative that you get Derrick Henry going early, but it wouldn't be shocking because we've seen the Ravens do this a lot this year where they get down and they sort of abandon the Derrick Henry plan. It was weird to see him do it with a lead. It certainly cost him. If you get Derrick Henry going, great. Otherwise, you may be sitting at a Justice Hill type of situation where you're dumping the ball off left and right, trying to come back against the Packers in Green Bay, which is no fun.
Brinson, I'm glad you brought up that it was weird for the Ravens not to give Derrick Henry the ball in the fourth quarter last week. That guy is literally built to milk the clock. They have an 11-point lead with 12 minutes and 50 seconds left. There is no one in the NFL you want more on your team in that situation than Derrick Henry, who was averaging 7.1 yards per carry in that game. And the Ravens said, you know what? Let's keep him on the bench and not give him the ball. That is just bad decision-making. And that is almost a testament of where this team is right now. It just seems like bad decisions. It's snowballing on them, and nothing is going their way. And so it is going to be interesting to see what they do. I think this has got to be a game plan. You got Stu probably playing because Lamar Jackson's out. So it's give the ball to Derrick Henry 100 times. If you're going to go down riding Derrick Henry. See what he can do against this defense. A lot of teams have had a tough time finding success running the ball against the Packers, but the teams that have been able to run the ball well have ended up beating them. The Packers have only given up 150 rushing yards or more twice this season. They lost both those games. So I would just keep feeding Henry and see what happens.
That have struggled to run the ball against the Packers haven't had a player like Derrick Henry running the ball. But again, the Packers are favored by 4.5 at home. So Breach, where do you see the value in this game?
This is tough for me because we have Jordan Love out, and I don't know how the Packers feel about this game. I know they can still win the NFC North, but if their injury report, there's 20 players on their injury report. That's almost 40% of their roster. So it's one of those things where is Matt LaFleur going to focus on getting healthy and maybe saying, yeah, you're a little iffy, all those questionable guys. We're going to keep you on the bench and make sure you get healthy because what the Packers need to be is healthy once the playoffs start, and they've already clinched that playoff berth. And the Ravens, this is an elimination game, so it's essentially a playoff game for them. I think that the Ravens are going to play with their backs to the wall. We got backup quarterback versus backup quarterback. So I'm going to say Baltimore covers the 4.5, and that's all I got. I don't know which side to go on. I kind of like the Ravens, but I'm going to say Baltimore covers 4.5.
Okay.
I'm going to take the Packers here. I know, Breach, you mentioned the NFC North. That matters a lot. Like, they don't want the Bears to take the NFC North. They hate the Bears. And, if you could talk about, you look at the Bears' schedule, right? I mean, they have a much tougher run out than the Packers do. The Packers can win their 2 games, force the Bears to beat first the 49ers and then the Lions, who I know are eliminated, but they got Dan Campbell. He's not going to let them not try. He's not going to, try to bite a kneecap off in Week 18 or anything. So I think the Packers come out here, try to win this game. I do think both of these games are going to be really low scoring, a lot of running the football, a lot of try to take the ball out, especially this one, take the ball to the backup quarterback's hands. But I think Malik Willis has shown enough where he can win games with this Matt LaFleur offense. I think the Packers will win by 7.
Well, and to your point, too, the Packers looking at the Bears, seeing them wearing those cheese grater hats, thinking, okay, I got a lot of problems with that. They got more problems with that than Breach eat microwave Chick-fil-A. So we'll see. We'll see how this all goes down. Lots of action Saturday as Week 17 rolls on. John Breach, Will Brinson, thanks so much. As we take a look at the NFC playoff picture, Seahawks, Bears, Eagles, Panthers, currently the division leaders, but not yet